From Zurich is Dr. Jan Marcus Vömel, a specialist on Turkish politics. Thank you very much for your time. Both of these men were Islamists in a staunchly secular country. President Erdogan and Fethullah Gülen also once very close allies, but the two later had a falling out, which led to claims that Gülen and his followers were behind that 2016 coup. So what led to these two men becoming bitter enemies?
Yes, that's a brilliant question, of course, the question that lies behind all of this conflict. And really, there were two versions of political Islam at the time. And one was more challenging towards the state apparatus and really had a different version of a new and Islamic Turkish Republic. And then there was the Gülen Movement. And the Gülen Movement made a kind of an offering to the state that would be exacting Turkish nationalism and the state determining role, and presented itself as a kind of reliable partner towards state institutions and different kinds of parties, and really parties of very different kinds in Turkish history from the late 90s and later onwards supported the Gülen movement. And then when the Erdogan and the AKP came to power, the two forged an alliance because they had similar goals, which was to transform the Turkish Republic, the secular Turkish Republic, into a kind of more religious republic. And when that project was largely successful, which materialized around the early 2010s, the two close one step by step became enemies and came into clashes with each other, which then culminated in the coup attempt of 2016. So it was really a conflict about the spoils of their success. Which part of the two movements would dominate Turkey in the years ahead? So that was the core conflict that was at stake here.
What impact will Gülen's death have in Turkey itself, and especially on President Erdogan?
To me, I think for Erdogan, of course, I think in Ankara, no doubt, in many state institutions, there will be a celebratory mood today, and he will feel vindicated. Finally, he has triumphed about the public enemy number one, and but I think for the Turkish side of things, Erdogan has already won this conflict, no doubt, and it's largely a symbolic moment at this moment for Turkey. So it will play out in a much more crucial way for the movement itself and the movement's presence in Europe and other parts of the Muslim world, in Central Asia, and also very crucially in the US.
Does Gülen's party still hold any sway in Turkey when you take into account those large number of arrests and court trials?
No doubt the victory of Erdogan's side and the AKP and the government, the state side, over the Gülen movement is very fundamental. And there's absolutely no Gülen presence or no chance whatsoever to regain the positions of power it held previously within the Turkish media, Turkish economy, Turkish public life, and also the Turkish state apparatus. There's also absolutely no chance for a comeback on that part. So the triumph of the AKP, also disregarding, of course, rule of law, due process in the prosecution of Gülen's movement members, was very crushing for the movement in Turkey itself.
But you taught there about the Gülenists living in the Turkish diaspora, and in terms of their numbers as such, what will happen to them as a result of Fethullah Gülen's death?
Yes, first of all, as a result of the prosecutions in Turkey, the movement's focus moved to Central Europe, the German-speaking countries, and Scandinavia mainly, and to the US. And it already had stronghold in those countries that I also mentioned, like Central Asia, other parts of the Muslim world, like Malaysia or Indonesia. And I think the parts of these movements will now face a very uncertain future. It's very unclear how the movement will continue because there is no obvious successor or something like that. There are several names that are discussed at the moment that might follow the leadership of Gülen, but it's also a distinct possibility that the movement will see some kind of infighting, some kind of internal strife, some kind of dissolution, or possibly splinting into several different arms that will try to continue this legacy of the movement.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Dr. Jan Marcus Vömel.